Yes, now it's the media's turn to ask us some questions.
Hi, Prime Minister. Cam McIntosh, CBC News. Your reaction today to Premier Ford's use of the Notwithstanding Clause, if you wouldn't mind.
I and my government are obviously extremely staunch supporters and defenders of Canada's Charter of Rights and Freedoms. The Charter is there to protect Canadians from governments that overreach. It's something that Canadians value and identify with, and it's something that protects us all. So anytime a government chooses to invoke the Notwithstanding Clause to override the Charter's protections, it has to be done deliberately, carefully, and with the utmost forethought and reflection. As my government said yesterday, we're disappointed by the provincial government's in Ontario's choice to invoke the Notwithstanding Clause, but I won't be weighing in on the debate on how big Toronto Municipal Council should be. This is about the Charter and the values that underpin it.
As for you to answer in English and French, could or would the federal government intervene in Premier Ford's use of the Notwithstanding Clause?
D'abord, comme j'ai dit, moi et mon gouvernement, nous défendons ardemment la Charte canadienne des droits et libertés. La Charte nous protège en tant que Canadiens, en tant qu'individus, en tant que société, de gouvernements qui voudraient aller trop loin pour brimer nos droits et libertés. Donc, quand un gouvernement choisit d'utiliser la clause non-obstant, je pense que ça doit être fait avec extrêmement de soin, d'attention et de délibération. C'est sûr que je suis déçu par la décision du gouvernement Ford d'invoquer la clause non-obstant. Mais comme j'ai dit, nous n'avons pas l'intention de nous immiscer dans le débat sur quelle devrait être la taille du conseil municipal à Toronto. Nous allons respecter et laisser aux Ontariens la capacité de juger si le gouvernement est en train de faire une bonne chose ou non. As I said, I'm not going to weigh in on how the Toronto City Council should be composed. I will trust that Ontarians will reflect on whether or not the provincial government made the right decision on overriding the Charter of Rights and Freedoms on this issue.
Hi, Jill Makishon with CTV National News. NAFTA negotiations are ongoing in Washington. The President has not backed down on rhetoric about punitive tariffs against the auto industry. You've always said you want this deal to be best for Canadians, but what if that comes at the cost of Canadian jobs?
We know that the relationship, the trading relationship between Canada and the United States is possibly the most successful trading relationship in the world. The amount of goods and services and people who flow back and forth across our borders for the benefit of jobs, good jobs on both sides of the border, is an example of what trade can be and how it can add to the prosperity of the countries that are part of it. So we know that there is a good deal to be had that is good for Canada, good for the United States, and good for Mexico. Indeed, trade is not a zero-sum game. It's very possible and even common to get win-win-wins out of international trade deals. We continue to engage at the table in thoughtful, engaged, positive ways. We take very seriously and with enthusiasm the opportunity to update and improve this 25-year-old accord. But as I've said many times, what Canadians expect and what this government will do is always stand up for Canadian workers, Canadian jobs, and Canadian interests. And as I've said, we are better off having no NAFTA than a bad deal for Canada. That's what Canadians expect, and that's where we will stand.
what about retaliation? I mean, you said on morning radio today that there would also be massive layoffs in the U.S. Do you stand by that statement?
Oh, I think it's a reflection of the fact that using the 232 tariffs as the president did on steel and aluminum, which has had consequences on both sides of the border, and the threat of possibly using it against autos would be, yes, very serious for the Canadian auto industry, but also would have significant impacts on the American auto industry because of the close integration of supply chains, particularly in that industry. So we are simply going to remain focused on negotiating in good faith, because we know that it is possible to get a good deal for all three of our countries and to benefit citizens and workers in all three of our countries.
And Prime Minister en français as well.
Nous allons continuer de négocier de bonne foi, de façon positive et constructive sur l'ALENA. Nous savons que c'est très possible d'avoir un accord qui sera gagnant, gagnant, gagnant. Et en même temps, nous savons que c'est extrêmement important pour les Canadiens d'avoir un bon accord pour le Canada, que c'est mieux de ne pas avoir d'accord de l'ALENA plutôt que de signer un mauvais accord pour les Canadiens, pour les travailleurs, pour notre économie. Alors nous allons continuer de travailler là-dessus sans trop se préoccuper de rhétorique ou de menaces qui pourraient être faites à différents moments.
Sean Cavanaugh from CBC Manitoba. Prime Minister, Manitoba says it'll go $25 a ton on carbon tax. Your government says $50. What do you say to consumers, people that are concerned about the environment, to the plant owner behind you, in the uncertainty that this creates between the provinces and the federal government? And what do you say to the tall premier behind you who has said, back off or we'll go to court?
I think Canadians understand that the time is now to take on a leadership role in fighting climate change, not just to defend the well-being of future generations, but also to be part of the economic growth that comes from cleaner, better jobs, from being smart about how we grow our economies. And I'm pleased to say that I'm very happy to be here with Premier Pallister, who recognizes the need to fight climate change, recognizes that the threat is real, and that also knows that putting a cost on pollution is one of the best ways to move forward and create efficiencies in our economies, while being able to support people through this time of transition to more renewables and less polluting sources of energy. We are very pleased that Manitoba is moving forward with a strong plan to put a cost on pollution. And we will have conversations in the coming years, as I know we will have conversations with different provinces across the country about how we ensure that everyone is being fair and everyone is doing their part across the country. But for now, to see a leader, indeed a conservative leader, who understands the need to have a concrete plan that fights climate change and takes real action that is going to be in the best interest of Manitobans right now and in businesses in the years to come, is something that I very much welcome. And I wish he would encourage some of the other conservative voices around the country to recognize that having a plan to fight climate change is something that all Canadians, regardless of where they are on the political spectrum, have a right to expect.
So my follow-up is that you're asserting that this creates certainty for everybody as to where we're going forward, and I'd ask if you'd also answer in French.
Okay. Oui, nous savons que l'impact des changements climatiques sur notre société, sur notre économie, commence à se faire vraiment sentir, que ce soit par les inondations, que ce soit par les feux de forêt. Nous sommes en train de vivre dans un monde qui est régulièrement heurté par l'impact d'un climat en changement. Et nous nous devons non seulement de faire notre part pour réduire les émissions, mais de nous préparer pour une économie plus prospère et plus responsable par rapport à la pollution et aux émissions. Donc, le principe de mettre un coût sur la pollution, c'est un principe que nous devons reconnaître comme étant important. Et je veux saluer le premier ministre Pallister qui a pris un niveau de leadership parmi tous les conservateurs de ce pays en démontrant qu'il comprend qu'il faut avoir un plan concret pour contrer les changements climatiques. C'est sûr que dans les années à venir, nous allons continuer d'avoir des conversations à travers le pays pour s'assurer que tout le monde est en train de faire sa part de la bonne façon. Mais aujourd'hui, je suis très content de pouvoir souligner que lutter contre les changements climatiques, ce n'est pas un enjeu partisan, c'est quelque chose auquel tous les Canadiens ont droit de s'attendre.
Steve Lambert from the Canadian Press. Prime Minister, there was a debate over whether provinces would have the rights to ban homegrown cannabis, and that deadline for legalization is looming. Has that been worked out? Have you accepted that provinces like Manitoba have the right to ban homegrown cannabis?
I think we need to remember why we are moving forward to control and regulate the sale of marijuana. The current system is a failure. The prohibition we have now against marijuana has led to the highest rate of teen usage of marijuana in Canada of anywhere around the world. And organized crime and street gangs and gun runners make something like $6 billion a year through the sale of marijuana. The current system doesn't work to protect our kids, to protect our communities, or to give our law enforcement officials the tools they need to keep us safe on the roads and in our streets. That's why we have worked over the past 3 years with provincial governments across this country to move forward on a regime that controls and regulates the sale of marijuana. Part of that involves also making sure that we're giving to police services the tools and the capacities and the funding and the training to be able to do a better job of going after a problem that isn't suddenly going to start next month, but is already current in our society and that we're not addressing very well. There are a range of perspectives on how best to do that, and we've been working with the provinces on that approach, but we do feel, and the science backs it up, that allowing a small amount of personal cultivation in one's home is a strong counter to the black market and needs to be a part of the legalization framework. That's something that I believe is going to be discussed in the courts, but we remain firm that personal cultivation should be allowed across the country.
And as a follow-up, Prime Minister, are you concerned, the provinces certainly have rights over some distribution rules for products like cannabis. Are you concerned that the rules differ from province to province and that Canadians may be confused, at least at the beginning?
Oh, I think, first of all, this is something new that we're doing in Canada because we recognize that the current policy is a failure. It doesn't work. So we are moving forward on something that will not be complete and done and over on October 17th. Indeed, it'll just be beginning. This is very much a process, not just an event. And we will be working with provinces, with municipalities closely across the country to ensure that the goals of protecting public safety and public health are met. Obviously, there's still a lot of work to do, and we will continue to work with the provinces as the various measures roll out. But similarly to alcohol, there are different regimes across the country. And that is something that has worked reasonably well in Canada over the past decades.
Monsieur Trudeau, Patrick Foucault, Radio-Canada. On va demander en français et en anglais, s'il vous plaît. Est-ce que, bon, à un peu plus d'un an des élections, est-ce que c'est dans vos plans considérer une prorogation du Parlement et un discours du trône?
Non. No. Je peux élaborer, oui. Non, nous n'allons pas considérer une prorogation d'un discours du trône. On est en train de livrer sur le plan qu'on a mis devant les Canadiens il y a 3 ans, pour investir dans la classe moyenne, pour faire croître l'économie de façon à créer des emplois pour tout le monde. Et on est en train de voir justement ça. On est à un niveau d'inflation parmi les plus bas depuis 40 ans. On est à un niveau de création d'emplois extrêmement positif. On est à un niveau de croissance économique en 2017 qui était le plus grand dans le G7. Alors, nous allons continuer de livrer pour les Canadiens sur les priorités sur lesquelles ils nous ont élus il y a 3 ans. On a encore une grosse année de travail devant nous et on va continuer. We are remaining focused on the hard work that Canadians elected us to do 3 years ago. We committed to grow the economy in a way that focused on the middle class and those working hard to join it. We delivered a Canada Child benefit that makes a huge difference in the families right across the country. We're delivering on job creation on the lowest unemployment rate in about 40 years. The best growth rate in the G7 in 2017, and we're continuing to work hard on the priorities that Canadians laid out for us 3 years ago. We have accomplished a lot, but we've still got a lot of work to do, and I'm looking forward to continuing to working hard for Canadians over the coming 12 months.
Et pour une question de relance, je vais passer de ces élections à une autre élection, celle du Québec. François Legault, c'est nos collègues à Québec qui nous demandent ça. François Legault aimerait avoir des concessions là, en matière d'immigration. Est-ce que c'est quelque chose pour rapatrier certains pouvoirs en immigration? Est-ce que c'est une concession que vous pourriez faire?
Écoutez, je ne veux pas me prononcer sur le débat provincial pendant les élections, mais certainement de travailler avec les provinces pour répondre à leurs priorités, c'est quelque chose que j'ai toujours fait à travers le pays. Par rapport à l'immigration, ça ne vous surprendrait pas que je reste en faveur fortement de l'immigration comme source de croissance économique. Et d'ailleurs, quand je me suis promené à travers le Québec, ce que j'entends le plus souvent, c'est des préoccupations par rapport à la vieillissement de la population et la pénurie de main-d'œuvre. On a donc besoin d'immigration pour créer cette croissance économique, mais c'est une position que je tiens depuis longtemps, comme vous savez.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Thank you very much.